Hey everybody, it's Christine with Zeidman Development, and today I'd like to show you 6 things that you can do in Importacular that you can't do in a Razor's Edge import. Number 1, you can work with a wide range of import files or data sources. So one thing that you can use in both places, in Razor's Edge import and in Importacular, is a CSV, but you can also work with an Excel file, or you can use a direct connection to many of our data source partners, such as Eventbrite and QGive, CrowdChange, MobileCause, Fundraise, lots of different options as you can see on my screen. If you work with an Excel file, which is what I've got pulled up on my screen right now, you can actually select what tab you want to work with. So I'm going to work with the first tab here on my screen. We're going to click Retrieve Data, and then we're going to go ahead and work with our templates. So let's pull up our template here, and that way I can show you the rest of our items that you can do in Importacular that you can't do in Import. So the next thing that I want to mention is our criteria sets. So with a Razor's Edge import, you can only match to a constituent in Razor's Edge with 3 different things: constituent ID, constituent import ID, or a social security number. With Importacular, you can match with any of those, but you can also customize how you match using your criteria sets. So there are different criteria sets for individuals and organizations. We also have criteria sets that work with matching relationships to existing relationships. So you can customize using a series of different sets. So you can have one set for a constituent ID. You can have another set for a combination of email address with name, or combination of first name, last name, and address. You can link queries, you can use attributes, lots of different functionality there so that you can tailor how you match people to the records in Razor's Edge. Constituents, not just people, organizations, and individuals. The next thing that we allow you to do is similar, but it is different. So criteria sets let you make sure that you're not creating duplicate constituents, let you match to the constituents in Razor's Edge, but we have a lot of settings within Importacular that allow you to avoid creating duplicate data in Razor's Edge. So for example, we have an attribute here. It's a constituent attribute that allows you to tell what someone's favorite baseball team is. So if I want to make sure that I don't already have an attribute, I can work with my area settings on my attribute, and I can decide how I want to match my attributes and what I want to happen if they do match. So right now, using these area settings, my attribute's set to say that it has to have the same category, which is always an option for matching, but I also wanted to have the same description. So in my case, the description is where you actually would see the team name. And then I've chosen the matching option to say that I only want to add this attribute if there's no match. Otherwise, I want to update the attribute. So what would happen here is if someone already has an attribute for favorite baseball team and the description says New York Yankees, if my data in my data source also has favorite baseball team is New York Yankees, it's just going to update that attribute with the information in the date and the comments. If they have the favorite baseball team and it says St. Louis Cardinals, and this data source says New York Yankees, it's going to add a second attribute. So depending on what end result you want and how you want it to match depends on what your settings are. But you can easily customize your template so you don't create duplicate data. The next thing that I want to show you while we're talking about duplicate data is working with phone numbers and email addresses. So same thing here, we can actually match our email address based on either that phone number and that phone type, same update. But the other thing that we can do that works with phone numbers and email addresses that you can't do in Razor's Edge import is you can actually add a do not contact to that record exactly. So if you want to mark an email address that someone has unsubscribed with that do not contact, you can absolutely do that here in Importacular. You can work with importing constituents and gifts at the same time. So if you're importing in Razor's Edge, you would have to do 2 separate imports. First, you would import the gift or the constituent, and then you would import the gift. Just as a side, this isn't counted in our 6 things, but the other thing you can do with Importacular that you can't do in Razor's Edge import, you can import to a batch. So the default for Importacular is always to import your gifts into a batch. You can choose to import them directly, but you do have the option there. So you can work with batches if that makes your finance department happy. The next thing that you can do is working with different fields and changing and dynamically cleaning your data as you import it. So one of the areas where I can show you this specifically in our constituent import is on our first name. So we do have an option here to only update new constituents. We don't want to change our existing. We've also set an option here so that we're using proper case. So if people are typing into an online form using all caps, this will fix that for you so you never comes into Razor's Edge with poor typing. You can also work with data transformations in order to change information. So our data file doesn't have a gender in it, but it does have a title. So we've worked with our title in order to populate the gender fields here. You can use a lot of different things within this structure for data transformations in order to dynamically change your data as you're putting it into Razor's Edge. So thanks for joining me today. I really hope that this quick walkthrough has shown you several different things of what you can do with Importacular that you can't do in Razor's Edge Import. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. Thank you.